Look at this pen. No logos, no colors, no name, just a pen. Now look at this notebook, this shelf, this entire store. Nothing here is designed to impress you. Nothing here stands out. Nothing here even has logo. And yet, Muji made $4.3 billion last year. They have over 1,000 stores in 30 countries, and they have customers who are obsessed with them. There are entire YouTube channels dedicated to Muji hauls, Reddit communities obsessing over their products, and people traveling to Japan just to visit their flagship store. So how is it possible that while other brands spend millions on celebrity endorsements and Instagram ads, Muji sells nothingness and still wins? Maybe in a world of excitement and attention, what people really crave is peace, silence, and simplicity. Or maybe it's just another kind of flex, which makes you feel wiser and detached from everything else. So in this video, we'll talk about how Muji became iconic by removing everything that defines the brand, what is the philosophy behind its products, and how you can apply the same thinking to your own work. And to answer all these questions, we have to go back to the 1980s to a supermarket in Japan where it all began. So it's 1980s. Tokyo was booming and Japan's economy was exploding. Everyone wanted more. Bigger brands, flashier packaging, and luxury into everything. If you walked into any store, you were hit with the visual chaos, with bright colors, bold logos, and products screaming at you from every shelf. And it was expensive, really expensive. Then, a supermarket chain called Seiyu decided to try something radical. They created a new brand, but with a twist. They called it Mujirushi Ryohin. And these Japanese characters had individual meanings. Mu meant no, Jirushi meant mark or a brand, Ryo meant good or quality, and Hin meant products. So literally, it translated to no brand's quality goods. Think about for a second, a brand called no brand. But the idea behind it was very simple. Remove everything unnecessary. No fancy packaging, no advertising cost, no designer fees, just good products at lower prices. Like for comparison, like a regular notebook in 1980 had a colorful cover, a brand name, spiral binding, and it cost 500 yen. On the other hand, a Muji notebook was blank, beige, made of recycled paper, and it cost only 200 yen. Same function for less than half the price. But the irony was that nobody wanted them at that time. Muji products sat on supermarket shelves between Coke and ramen for days, but nobody bought them, as they looked a bit boring, unfinished, and cheap. Also, it was the decade of access. So people wanted status. They wanted brands they could show off. And Muji was the complete opposite of that. So for the first few years, from 1980 to 1983, they saw a very slow growth, mostly inside Seiyu stores. But they kept experimenting. They kept adding products, testing categories. Then, in 1983, they took a risk. They opened the very first standalone Muji store in Tokyo's Aoyama district, a whole store of nothing. And people started paying attention. The brand began to grow slowly, but then everything changed in December 1989. Japan's stock market peaked and then crashed.
It was as though lots of cars were racing at a speed of 90 miles an hour. Several hundred of them, all bunched up. Leading them was the Ministry of Finance car. It suddenly braked hard, and all the cars behind went right into it, a major pileup. That was the burst of the bubble.
They called it the bubble economy burst. So company collapsed, unemployment rose, And suddenly, luxury didn't feel good anymore. Japan entered what they called the lost decade. And the result of that, an entire generation started rethinking what really mattered. And suddenly, buying Muji started to make perfect sense. It wasn't about being cheap anymore, it was about being smart. And in just 2 years, by 1991, Muji opened around 100 stores across Japan, and sales exploded. Not because of marketing, but because the culture had shifted. People stopped asking what brands are you wearing and started asking themselves, do I really need that? And for that question, Muji became the answer. That same year, they opened their first store outside Japan in London. And the timing was perfect because minimalism was becoming a global trend. Apple was making simple products look cool. IKEA was teaching people that less costs less. Then slowly, in 92, Muji opened another store in Hong Kong, followed by France in 98, and by the 2000s, they were exploding across Europe and Asia. But the most interesting part was that Muji never changed anything for different markets. They're the same products, same aesthetic, and same philosophy for Tokyo, Paris, New York, Shanghai. Every store looked identical. And people loved it because in a globalized world full of variety, Muji became a constant. Then in 2010s, the Instagram launched. And overnight, everyone became a curator of their own aesthetic. And guess what photography works really well? Blank spaces, neutral colors, and minimalist products. So Muji became gold of Instagram and Pinterest. Not because they tried, but because the aesthetic was already perfect for it. Minimalist bedroom, Muji. Organized desk setup, Muji. Aesthetic morning routine, also Muji. On the other hand, YouTube exploded with Muji content. Haul videos, organization videos, and store tours. The brand that spent nothing on marketing got millions in free advertising. And by today, Muji had over 1,000 stores in 31 countries and $4.3 billion in annual revenue. They had become what they never intended to be, an aspirational brand. But as this channel is called the Science of Products, let's start looking at what actually made Muji, Muji. We'll go chronologically and see how each new category helped build this aspirational brand starting from December 1980. When Muji launched first 40 products, 31 food items, and 9 household goods, all sold in Seiyu supermarkets. And right from the start, you can see their philosophy in action. Like in the packaging, there was no bright colors, no fancy fonts, no celebrity faces. Every product came in either transparent plastic or unbleached paper. And you could see exactly what you were buying: rice, noodles, mushrooms, or soap. The label only had the essential information, like the product name, ingredients, quality, and price. Nothing else. It looked plain, but that simplicity made it trustworthy. And this idea of honesty went even deeper into the products. Like these are shiitake mushrooms. Normally, companies cut off the stems before packaging just to make it look cleaner and more premium. But Muji kept the stems attached. Why? Because they were edible. Cutting them off would have been a complete pure waste. So Muji kept them and sold the mushrooms cheaper, so same quality but less waste. And same thing with the salmon. Usually, only the perfect cuts made it to the store shelves, and the irregular ones, they were thrown away or sold to factories for pet food. Muji took those irregular cuts and packaged them as they were, but at lower prices. So same taste, same nutrition, just not the perfect rectangle you saw in luxury stores. But the real breakthrough came with stationery. This is where Muji became Muji, like this notebook. Let me show you what made it different. If you pick up any notebook from 1980, you got colorful covers, character designs, brand logos, spiral binding, decorative edges. And now, look at this Muji notebook. It had a brown or beige cover, recycled paper, no lines or very simple lines, and pages bounded by the thread. And the same strategy with this pen. Most pens in the 80s were colorful, had rubber grips, and brand names printed on the side. But this pen had a transparent barrel, black ink, and no markings. You could actually see the ink level, and I think that's the only feature. And the genius part is that all these products are photographed beautifully. The products looked great with simple compositions, clean background, and neutral colors. So Muji accidentally started creating visuals that would dominate the social media 30 years later. And then they launched clothing. And this was where Muji's philosophy became even more rooted, because most fashion is about identity. You wear Nike to say that I'm athletic, you wear Supreme to say that I'm cool, you wear designer clothes just to say that I'm successful. But Muji's clothing said nothing. No logos, no slogans, just neutral colors, basic cuts, and natural material like cotton, linen, and wool. They started small with washed cotton shirts, but then they moved to everything like polo t-shirts, wool sweaters, and cardigans. And slowly, the collection grew until they offered almost everything, from socks and undergarments to jackets and coats. And by the 90s, Muji expanded into furniture and storage. And this is where they went from cheap alternative to a lifestyle brand. In the early 90s, they started releasing their first home pieces, like bed frames, mattresses, steel wire shelving, and MDF shelves. All simple, all modular, and all designed to last. Like this shelving system, they are simple metal frames, no decorative elements, no fixed sizes, so you buy what you need and change the height of the shelves accordingly. Compared to traditional Japanese furniture, which was ornate, decorative, and permanent, or even Western furniture with bulky, hard to move, and statement pieces, Muji's furniture was light, flexible, and neutral. It could fit any room, any style, and any life situation. And because it was modular and neutral, people felt like they were really customizing it, even though everyone's Muji shelves looked basically the same. It still felt personal. And many of those early products are still in the stores today. Like if you go to the store today, you'll still find the same stainless steel wire shelves with boxes. That's how strong the design system was. Once they made something, they rarely issued an upgrade and they just moved to the next category. Like in the late 90s and early 2000s, they entered a completely different category, skincare. And once again, they did the exact opposite of everyone else. See, cosmetic products are all about bright colors, glossy posters, and celebrity endorsements. They make promises like anti-aging miracle or revolutionary formula, which is all marketing with very little meaning. So Muji applied their simple approach again. Clear bottles, simple pumps, and transparent labels. Instead of putting marketing names, they gave them functional names like toning water, moisturizer, oil cleansing, while most skincare brands use ratings and scales like SPF 50, level 3 hydration, or ultra plus brightening. Muji just told you in simple terms like it's high moisture or low moisture. And it was so simple. I mean, I always get confused between SPF 50 and SPF 30, so this is not only good for consumers, but also dermatologists, because it just made their recommendations so easy to understand. And then later, when Korean beauty routines exploded with different steps and products, Muji products got a lot of organic push. And now, even they show a stepwise catalog of skincare products on their website. And then, in the decades of 2000s, Muji expanded into everything. I mean, everything. Electronics, furniture, kitchen tools, bedding, fragrances, travel goods, pet supplies. They even made CD players that looked like the radios from 1960s, with no digital displays, just buttons and a speaker. Then they made kitchen timers, rice cookers, blenders, all in the same aesthetic, white or beige. simple controls with no unnecessary feature. They even made bicycles with no gears, no branding, just a bike that looked like something straight out of the 50s. And then they thought that now we have made everything that you need in a house, so why not start selling the houses? So they launched prefabricated homes that you could buy and build. The Muji house looked exactly like you would expect. Wooden structure, large windows, open floor plan, minimal interior, and no decorative elements. It costed between $200,000 to $300,000 depending on the size, which in Japan was quite reasonable. But they wasn't really selling a house, they were selling a lifestyle. It was a logical conclusion of buying Muji products. You don't need to buy Muji furniture, Muji storage, Muji bedding, Muji kitchen tools. You got everything in one package. And if you didn't want to permanently live like this, you could still experience it in a Muji hotel. In 2018, they opened their first hotels in Shenzhen, then Beijing, and later in Tokyo. And staying in a Muji hotel was exactly what you would expect. Minimal rooms, natural materials, and comfortable beds. And when you see all of these different areas, that's when you realize that Muji was never really about products. It was about principles and philosophies behind every object. And there are three principles that made Muji, Muji. Number one is the calmness in their identity. Number two is the honesty in their products. And number three is the consistency in their culture. Let's start with the calmness. Muji has created this emotional identity where if you are someone who wants calmness in your office, in your home, or even in how you want to present yourself, you choose Muji. It's like a visual shorthand for peace. You don't have to say anything because your environment says it for you. And there's one word that Muji uses for this phenomena: emptiness. Not minimalism, not simplicity, but emptiness. So usually, minimalism is about removing things, but emptiness is about creating space and giving freedom to things to exist. Kanehara, the creative director of Muji, once said that emptiness is not the absence of content, it's the openness for the content. In his book, Designing Japan, he explains that Japanese aesthetics always valued this kind of emptiness, not as a lack, but as a potential. He writes that without anything, there are the most possibilities. And I think that reflects perfectly in their products. Like this blank notebook, it's empty. It has no branding, no shapes, no logos, no text. And forget about all these branding things. If I remove this barcode, you can't even tell that which way is the front or which way is the back. It's open to anything you want. You can start from this side or you can start from this side. And I think this interpretation, it exists in all Muji products. That emptiness lets you decide what you want or what it actually is. So while every company tells you what to do or how to behave or what you can be, Muji gives you that freedom of making anything out of their products. And if you see, the freedom is the one thing that everyone on the planet gets by default. And it's the one thing that government or parents or anybody in authority takes away when you do anything wrong. And Muji taps into that natural feeling by creating this environment of emptiness through their products and even their store. When you walk into a Muji store, the space feels very calm, quiet, and almost silent. There's no loud music, no bright flashing lights. It's a bit dark with warm lights and then these diffusers which create like a calm, soothing space in which you can breathe, you can think, and you can just be. And while I was at the store, I realized that Muji's red and white colors feels a bit familiar, and then I remembered that the Japanese flag also has the same colors. Of course, Muji's colors aren't that bright as Japan's flag, but I'm sure that people in Japan are deeply connected to them. And maybe that's why Muji used them, not to stand out, but to feel grounded and be honest. Anyways, this is their value strategy. The calmness and the freedom is what people really value in Muji. And Muji complement that calmness with the second factor, which is honesty in their products. From materials to packaging to price, there's nothing to hide or deceive. Like for materials, they used unbleached paper, natural cotton, stainless steel, and clean plastic. Nothing painted, coated, or disguised. You can see the texture, the grain, the real color of the material. What you touch is what you actually get. And same for the packaging. They print only the necessary information, like product name, ingredients, and the pricing. And that too in plain text. So no shiny fonts, no models, and no fake freshness on the food packaging. Even the plastic or paper is slightly transparent so that you can see what's inside. And for most of the stationery, they don't even have packaging, just this small sticker with the barcode for easy checkout. And the pricing is fixed by logic, not marketing. If the cost of raw material drops, they reduce the retail price. If production gets expensive, then they raise it. So no fake discounts, no psychological pricing, just cost and margins. Kanehara once said that design should not decorate, it should explain. And that's exactly what Muji does. Their design explains itself, like how it's made, what it costs, and why it exists. And the last piece of the puzzle is consistency. Muji starts by giving customers a sense of calm, then backs it up with honesty in their products, and most importantly, then they do it consistently over a long period of time. Like I said in the last video about simplicity, we humans prefer products which are less stressful for our brain, either by reducing elements or by organizing them in a consistent, easy to grasp layout. And most companies at least start with these instincts. They make a pilot product that's simple, focused, and clear, but as the company grows, simplicity starts to fade and products becomes more and more complex. Muji is one of the examples where they continue to achieve simplicity and calmness in their products again and again. For 45 years, they repeated the same process. Remove what's unnecessary, respect the material, and make things that feel peaceful to live with. You can pick any two objects from completely different decades, and they will still feel connected. And one more thing that I really like from Muji is that consistency doesn't really mean repeating products and launching a new version of the same product every year just to keep sales up. Because once they get something right, then they move on to the next category. Because that's what real consistency looks like. Not repeating what works, but repeating why it works. Kanehara calls it designing for larger than lifestyle, meaning don't design for what's trendy right now, but design for how people live, how they think, and how they want to feel. So now we have seen how Muji did it with emptiness, honesty, and consistency. Three principles that turned nothing into billions. But the real question is, can you also do it with your brand, with your products? The simple answer is yes, but not by copying Muji's aesthetics and the strategy, but by understanding their thinking. And here are three lessons that you can apply right now. First is turn your constraint into your identity. We saw how Muji started as a low-cost private label under a supermarket with no marketing budget, no famous designers, and no fancy packaging. They had to make good products cheaper than everyone else. So they removed everything unnecessary, no logos, no colors, no hype, and what started as a constraint became their identity. So you have to look at your constraint as a direction, not as your limits. It tells you where to focus and where to put your attention and resources. Let's say you're starting a small product brand and you can't afford fancy packaging. Good. Maybe you can pack them by hands with small details printed at home and make that your signature style until you scale up. Or maybe you're building a service business with a very small team, so you can't compete with the big companies on scale. But you can compete on attention. You can tell the customers that you are available for them personally 24 hours, 7 days a week. And no big companies can do that. You can talk directly to your customers, make that experience very personal, and own that smallness. The point is that every constraint can become your identity if you stop fighting it and start designing around it. The second lesson is to design for the third year, not the first. As I said before, that this is honestly my favorite thing about Muji, and it's something that I would personally do if I start my own product brand someday, especially if it's non-tech. Because in categories like home products, stationery, or fashion, there aren't huge improvements every year. So you don't have to keep changing things. Just make it right the first time and then keep it that way. And of course, you can keep working on improvements and then launch an upgrade in 4 or 5 years. I think that would be a real sustainable design. And the third lesson is to leave some space for the user. I think sometimes people on the business side of the product forget that for an end user, the product is much more than the features or specification. It's a part of their life, their routine, their identity. And no matter how many personas you can make while developing a product, it's impossible to define and label every individual's need. So I think it's better to leave some space, some room for the user to make the product personal and use it as they want. Like Kanye has said that it's not the absence of the content, it's the openness for the content. So if you're designing a bag, don't overthink every pocket. Let people decide how they'll use it. If you're designing a furniture, keep it flexible enough to fit into different rooms and different lives. I like how IKEA always keeps some collection like the Kallax or the Ivar so that people can customize and make the space their own according to their needs. It would be really cool to explore IKEA's philosophy too, but maybe in another video. But here's my final thought about Muji. In a world where every brand is screaming for your attention, fighting to be seen, to be different, or to go viral, Muji understood that people don't just buy products, they buy peace of mind. They buy the feeling of control in a chaotic world. They buy a way to breathe. And maybe that's the ultimate lesson here. Whether you're designing a pen, a building, a brand, or just living your life, sometimes the most powerful thing that you can do is remove everything that doesn't matter and trust that whatever remains will be enough. Because in the end, nothing was never really nothing. It was everything, just a bit quieter. That's all for today. I'll see you in the next one. Bye. If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe. We're breaking down more products and brands that change the game by breaking the rules.